hours, could be days.
Sure.
You really don't know. So you need to have, the proper gear with you to survive an unplanned night, especially in winter, your room for air it's very small. So yeah, just carrying, Spencer and I both carry big packs. Right now I've got a 35 liter and it's maxed out. I've got gear for the hike, different lighters that come on and off throughout the hike, many pairs of gloves. I carry a big down jacket. I think it's designed for like 8,000 meter peaks. I mean, it's big. Synthetic down pants. Basically with that outfit, I've got a really warm sleeping bag that I can move in. So that's handy. And I've got a bunch of clothes. Oftentimes I'll get to a summit and I'll change out my wet shirt, put on a dry one, for the walkout. But then I've got a whole section of clothes that I don't touch. They're just there for emergency purposes. I always carry a 2-man bivvy with me. And basically what that is, it's like a space blanket in the shape of a sleeping bag. So the downside to a space blanket is, it's one-sided. You can wrap it around you, but you're not fully sealed. Water can get in, wind can blow it off, whatever.
And the wind will blow it off.
Yeah.
Absolutely will.
They're not very efficient. So with this bivvy sack, super light, super small, you can fit 2 people in it if needed. I carry it with me year-round. It's always in my pack. And something else I carry with me, it's kind of a luxury on a lot of hikes, but it's a Thermarest Z-Seat. And it's just this little foam butt pad, essentially. I was out the other day, wanted to take a little break, cleared off a down tree, threw my pad on it, had a nice dry spot to sit. And I feel like I use it almost every hike, honestly. But if something went wrong, I can use that as an insulating layer. It's not big by any means, but it's enough where I can get it under my vital organs, inside my bivvy sack, and it's going to help keep me.
Gets you off the ground.
Gets me off the ground a little bit. There's other things you can make, as far as a shelter goes too, that'll help get you off the ground. But something quick, something easy. It's $14. It's one of those things that I'll always have in my backpack.
Sure.
And there's so much other stuff. Spencer may have other things,
Most of the stuff, if you think about it, and like you break it down like the GPS, you're talking about a down jacket that'll last you 10 years. You spend a couple $100, what's that, $10, $20 a year to have something that could save your life. And his pack pretty much mimics mine. You don't know what's going to happen, so you need to be able to survive the night. You might not be comfortable, but you'll wake up in the morning. It's all about, and my pack will change depending on how far away I'm going. So if my hike isn't going to take me very far away from a trail, maybe a peak that's only half a mile off a trail or something, my pack will be a little smaller than it would be if I was going into the Sentinel Range, which is 3 miles from the nearest road through some nasty stuff, where rescue is going to take a lot longer. So my pack will fluctuate according to the trip. But, it's in the wintertime, it's 35-pound pack that I would carry every trip, pretty much. Usually I get to the point where I get lazy and I don't want to take anything out and put it back in, so I just leave it all in there 90% of the time. But, that down jacket on a summit is amazing. I used to carry a Z-Rest little pad, but I used to carry it on the outside of my pack, and the trees pretty much shredded it. Yeah. But for the most part, it's the stuff. Just think about it. But what's going to keep you alive overnight, and that's the stuff you should have in there. I do carry a sleeping bag. Most people would think that's crazy to carry a sleeping bag on a day hike, but you know what?
You'd rather have it if the day hike turns into an overnight.
Well, I'm the guy you would want with you if something happened to you, because I've got the stuff in my pack that's going to keep you alive. And when I was doing the Winter 46, people used to make fun of me all the time on the trail. So how long you staying for? It's just my day pack, dude. And these people are going up with camelbacks for, to climb Morrissey. And, I was like, what's going to happen if, you get into a whiteout and you need to, sit out for 3 or 4 hours until it clears, or, you hurt your ankle and, you got to wait 2 or 3 hours before somebody can rescue you. What are you going to do? It's the what ifs that,
Sure.
always in the back of my mind.
I'd rather carry it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah.
It's a little extra weight, but it's just going to make me that much stronger. And then when spring comes and your pack's a little bit lighter, you notice it. It's like, wow, this feels nice. But, even in the summer, I've always got a down jacket in my bag and multiple layers. And you can get in trouble out there in the summer. You get in a thunderstorm and get wet, and it gets cold at night up here. Summers aren't that warm, especially when you're at elevation. So, you need to prepare for the worst and hope for the best kind of deal, and it's kind of scary. You see people out doing, say McNaughton, and they've just got this tiny little pack and shorts and a t-shirt, and they're not prepared. And unfortunately, several years ago, a woman passed away on that mountain, and same thing. She had like trail runners on in the middle of winter, which you really need to respect those mountains and the weather way more than you do. You certainly do when you're on the trail, but even more when you're out there just by yourself exploring.
So let's transition now to some more outdoor survival discussion, since you guys are kind of on that subject right now. What are other things you keep in your packs, and what would you tell other people are essentials to have in your packs for this sort of what-if scenario?
I always carry something I can start a fire with, just in case, as a last resort. I'm not a survivalist by any means, but there's plenty of stuff out there you can watch on, what kind of stuff you can use to insulate yourself that's already available out in the forest. A lot of survival is there's a lot of common sense involved to it. Typically, think of if you needed to be rescued, but you have no way of getting the word out that this is the case. First off, the survival thing, leave a note with somebody, let them know what time you're going to be back, and hopefully they're, it's somebody that's responsible enough to make that call. But I have this little kit called, it's my first aid survival kit. So it's all my basic first aid stuff that I can administer to myself or to somebody else. And then within that, there's, the stuff to start a fire, extra headlamp, extra batteries, and pretty much everything else we mentioned, the extra layers. I have a full change of clothes. Especially I find that a dry shirt makes a huge difference. Dry socks, good footwear. It's all about planning. Survival starts with the planning, I guess, is the best way to put it. And unfortunately, the best learning tool is experience, and sometimes it's not good experience that makes you learn. But I think we pretty much touched on everything I have in my pack. Extra food, obviously, plenty of water. Those are essentials year round. Water and food is huge. It really can change a bad situation into a much better situation.
Would you say you're bringing days worth of food when you go out there?
I have a lot of snacks. It's high calorie, kind of sugary snacks. Because even if you aren't prone to low blood sugar, you can get low blood sugar. So something like that, high protein, stuff like jerky, meats, cheeses, nuts, protein bars. They kind of upset my stomach, so I don't eat them as much as I used to. But just stuff like that. And I probably have a day's, you can go a long time without food, but as long as you can keep a little bit of something going in, I'd probably say I have a day and a half worth of food that I can at least have a little something every hour.
Sure, and those are small real estate items too in your backpack.
Oh,
take up next to no space.
No.
That amount of food as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one thing I do, I mean, I carry all of this stuff, and a lot of what Spencer just touched on. I've got first aid. I carry a SAM splint, which is basically just a foam splint. You know, if you break your wrist, break your ankle, put it on, wrap it with an ace bandage. It could be the difference between hobbling out of the woods or needing a rescue, you know, and you can certainly make splints out of branches, but you have to have a general idea of what you're doing out there too. You know, some people wouldn't think, oh, I can make a, makeshift splint out of this or that. And oftentimes when I'm in the woods, I'll stop to catch my breath and I just kind of look around. It's like, okay, what if I just broke my ankle? This is where I am. And I try to make mental notes throughout the hike. Oh, there's a birch tree. I know I can use that, bark to start a fire. Or there's a little cave that's dry. I could use that as a shelter, or a downed tree that would make a great shelter. So I just try to make all these mental notes along the way, just in case something happens.
It's a good exercise to go through while you're hiking.
Yeah, and you can certainly use that, on the trail. You can use it anywhere. I think it's
break your ankle anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just good to know your surroundings. A lot of times in the winter I'll carry a water filter with me. So it's like, okay, I know there was a stream a half mile back that way, if I need to go get water. Or, the planning ahead. It's like, I know a stream's going to be over this ridge. I can filter there. And, when I go out in the woods, going back to the GPS, I don't rely on it too much because I've done enough research where I walk out there and all of it makes sense. It's kind of like the Matrix when they just look at that code, Yeah, I just referenced the Matrix. But yeah, I mean, you go out there and it's like, okay, like there's that little knob and there's that drainage and, you just got to be well aware all the time, and
would you say you're taking kind of you're making a checklist in your mind before you go out there? So you're looking at the maps at home, you're saying, okay, I'm going to hit this drainage here, and then it's going to go to this, and then I'm going to come across this, and that's kind of what you're looking for in your brain as you start hiking.
Yeah, like basically beforehand, I mean, I can visualize the hike, as far as, okay, it's going to start off as open hardwoods, and then it's going to start getting thick, and then it's going to get really steep here for a bit, but this ridge opens up, and, it just, I've done it so much now where it just kind of comes naturally, which is cool. But like I said, I mean, there's still times where you get out there and it's completely different.
Sure.
You could be 15 feet away from your planned route and it's a night and day difference. There's been so many times where I'm in trees that you're literally swimming through because they're so thick, but 15 feet to the right, there's an open pathway, so you never know what you're going to get, whether it's getting injured or what the terrain looks like, what the views will look like.
So you've been out there so much now that's kind of second nature for you. So take me through when it wasn't second nature. Take me through when you guys kind of just started this bushwhacking lifestyle that you guys live now. Obviously you guys have experience now, but take me through when you weren't experienced and you were getting that experience and building up. Like what were the first types of hikes like for you when you went out and started doing this sort of hiking? You must have gotten yourself into some sort of trouble here and there, I assume. You learn from those mistakes. Take me to that time period.
I was pretty fearless, actually. When I first started, I was, I going back to the survival thing really quick, though, a wilderness first aid course, confidence is one thing that will make you survive. So knowing what to do is key. And, I did that. That was one of the first things I did. I took simple first aid, CPR kind of stuff, and then eventually as more and more I did it, you took the woofer class and stuff. But when I first started out, like I said, I was fearless. I would pretty much stick to ridges. I would stick to drainages. I wouldn't wander as much as I do now. Back when I first started, the GPSs were, they were mediocre at best. They didn't have the map on the screen, so you had to put in waypoints where you wanted to go. It was much less ability of wandering around. They didn't hold the satellite coverage as easy as they do now. So I guess I was